Hello Libra, welcome to your tarot reading here on Dove and Serpent Tarot. This is a timeless reading, which means whenever you happen to be watching this reading was meant to find you. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. Now this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. Okay. Remember that the most important part of any tarot reading is you, and there is that Seven of Swords. We're going to put that into some context. We're going to use our Dove and Serpent spread. And this is looking very nice already. If there's anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know in the comments. All right. We're going to finish up here with the path of the serpent. Those are very interesting cards. We're going to do a mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. We're going to use the Rider-Waite-Smith. And this is the card that we're going to set aside. We'll put the frog right on top. We're not going to look at it until the very end. Okay. And hopefully by the end of the reading, that card will give us a sense of closure, of confirmation, and just kind of tie everything together at the end. Okay. So, Path of the Dove, we have a major arcana here, which is nice. We've got some air, some earth, some fire, and some water, and a court card. A little bit of everything. Very nice. Balanced, right? Very balanced. On the path of the serpent, we have, well, balance with this major arcana. Then we have three more court cards, some air and some water. So with all of these court cards, I feel like there is, you're definitely surrounded by a lot of people right now. Maybe in your life generally, maybe this, what's on your mind right now, the kind of important situation, whatever's weighing most heavily on you, involves a group of people that you're kind of associated with. It could be your group at work, it could be your friends, your family group, whatever it might be. Okay. We're going to start with the Seven of Swords. Now this is telling me that you are a person who really likes to stay focused, doesn't like a lot of distractions. You know, when you really settle down to work, you're the kind of person that'll turn the TV off. You'll put headphones in or something to keep out, outside distractions. You'll put on some mellow music or whatever the vibe is, and you'll focus, right? You're very, very resistant to distractions, okay? And you're the type of person I feel like really, my cat agrees with me, if you heard that. He likes to come down here and wail sometimes as I'm doing my readings. He's a big help, though. Anyway, you are the kind of person who really commits to things. When you decide on what you're doing, you stick to it. Okay? And usually you have a lot of concentration. It's generally fairly easy for you to settle down at your desk and do your work and focus and block out distractions. Right. But I feel like right now there is a particular distraction that's kind of overpowering. It's getting in the way a little bit, right? Or it's trying to. I don't know that it is necessarily. In fact, I would say that it's probably not. I think you're maintaining the discipline to stay on course and to stay with this work that you're doing. And honestly, with all of the cards that we have here, there's not much of a sense of what that work is, right? Because we have pretty much all court cards, a couple of majors, and then the balance of the elements, right? So since we're talking about the balance of the elements here, this is the balance of the air. I think this is you being able to focus and concentrate, right? You're not being scatterbrained. You don't feel like your mind is just kind of in chaos. I think you're very organized. You're very much resistant to that chaos. You're able to kind of keep it at bay, right? But it still tries to get in. It still tries to affect you. There are these other people, perhaps, other coworkers, associates, friends, or family members that are trying to distract you. And it feels like they're kind of pulling you in two different directions. because we have air court cards, we have a little bit of water court cards, but mostly the air. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 air court cards. We have an air major arcana, and this is air. So, we said that there's balance on the path of the dove, but overall in the entire spread, it's pretty heavy on the air. So I think that you're having a difficult time staying on task, staying focused, blocking out these distractions. Maybe these other people are trying to get you to take a break and go do something fun. Maybe they're trying to distract you with just kind of meaningless data or questions, or your focus is being pulled on other details that aren't really relevant right now, right? Because whatever work you're doing needs your focus. Whatever project you're working on, whatever the work is that you do with your life day to day. Now, when I say work, you probably know this. When I say work, I don't just mean what you're doing for money, right? I don't agree with the kind of downgrading the word work to mean just what we do to pay the bills, right? Because work has so many different levels than just what pays the bills, right? We work to pay the bills. We work for happiness. We work for spiritual fulfillment. We work on our creative projects. We work on our relationships. We work on ourselves, our relationship to ourselves. So when I say work, and this is a fundamental kind of core belief of me and this channel, when I say work, I do not just mean what we do for money, okay? I mean, whatever your focus is, kind of day to day, and that has long-term kind of goals involved, right? When we say, well, I'm working on myself. Well, that's not something you're just going to clock out at 5 and be done. And it's not something that you're going to finish in a day. Maybe if you're lucky, but I don't think that's very likely. So the work that you do takes tremendous focus and discipline, organization, and resistance to distraction. Okay. And I think that there's kind of a fine line with you right now where you want to keep the distractions away, and you're not going to let them distract you or bother you or pull you away from your task. But then on the other hand, you kind of feel like it's pointless for me to continue what I'm doing. Maybe I should go handle this other business, whatever it is. Deal with these other people and these distractions, get that settled, so then I can come sit down at my desk and focus and not have different energies kind of talking at me from either side, right? That's the dilemma of the 7 of Swords. Now, I was going to do this fire energy here, but I think I'd rather go backwards to this 4 of Cups. Okay, we'll get to the fire energy because I think the fire energy is the kind of most important part of this spread, of this reading, right? We got to deal with the air and this water and the earth and stuff, but it's this fire and this Emperor energy that's really important. And that's how we're going to get through this period of time in our lives, right? So the 4 of Cups, in the recent past, I think that you, maybe in the past 4 months, you've experienced a real sense of liberation. I think that you might have been kind of tied down in a situation that wasn't allowing you to focus on the work that you need to do. Again, not what you're just doing for money, but your self-work, your spiritual work, working on your relationships, working on your family, working on your garden, working on your creative projects, whatever it is. I feel like you were kind of anchored to a situation, maybe in a relationship, maybe the place that you lived, maybe it was a job, right? Maybe it was a group of friends or something that, whatever it was, you were anchored in place. And it wasn't an environment, it wasn't a situation that was conducive to you doing your work. Okay? The 4 of Cups here. It wasn't a bad situation necessarily, air quotes, bad, in that it wasn't overtly, harmful or repressive, but it was subtly so. I feel like maybe it was more emotionally anchoring and emotionally heavy and maybe manipulative. But it, in subtle ways, prevented you from really following your central sword here. With the Seven of Swords, I should have mentioned this. This Ace of Swords right there in the center, that single large broadsword right there, that is your focus, that is your will, that is your commitment and your resolve to stay on that kind of right, straight and narrow path to whatever your work is. Okay. So the Four of Cups was kind of, you were anchored to this situation, and I say anchored because it is a water card. It is kind of, it's kind of being, you're kind of just floating. You're just idling in this pool of water, in this bay, in a lake. There's not a lot going on. You're kind of anchored there. You're not really drifting. Maybe you're drifting a little bit, but within a defined radius, So there's a little bit of this illusion of freedom to move and just kind of, to wander and explore. But really you're tied down to something. And I feel like you got out of this situation and now you're intensely focused on the work that you're doing. Okay. This situation feels like it was keeping you rather... keeping you rather still, right? There was no emotional movement. The waters were not flowing. It wasn't a choppy sea. It was not a storm. It was just, kind of dull and boring. I don't want to say that, but it feels to me like it was just really basic and unfulfilling. There was no movement here at all. Okay, it's a Four of Cups. It's not terrible. Your boat wasn't sinking, but there was nothing going on either. You were just floating there for a while, right? But I think you had this sense of urgency, right? For whatever reason, I feel like maybe 8 months ago even, I feel like you had this impulse that just told you, you've got to get out of here. You've got to cut anchor, basically, and run. And with the Eight of Wands, it didn't really matter what direction you went. You had to put some distance quickly between you and this rather restrictive kind of situation, right? It was restricting you emotionally and intellectually and spiritually. You weren't pursuing your goals and your will, right? You didn't have this Ace of Swords. So I feel like you cut anchor, you ran, didn't matter what direction, you had to get away, put some distance between you and this rather boring boat, right? So I think you've done that. And I think now you still have this kind of fiery sense of urgency, bordering on anxiety, kind of. I think at the beginning it was anxiety, and now it's just kind of this this energy that you're trying to sustain, right? But the Eight of Wands it's like a bolt of lightning that has tremendous force and power and light and heat and energy, but it's temporary. It's over like that, So this was the initial impulse that you needed to break free, to break the anchor and get out of there, get away from that situation. But now we need some more fire energy to sustain the level of effort that it's going to take for you to continue with your work and resist all of these other distractions, all these other things that are kind of coming around, So we need some more of the fiery energy. This was a really good, bolt of lightning, but now we need a more steady fire. And that's exactly what we see with this Emperor energy. The Emperor energy really is, it's some Aries style energy, right? It's very strong, very forceful. It takes the initiative, but it also has the ability to renew itself. It's like a self-renewing energy thing. I don't know what they're called. And this is exactly what we need. And this is kind of, I think, where you are headed with your energy and with your life. You're in control. You are being confident and assertive. You are focused. It's like the more you focus on this Ace of Swords, The stronger your grip gets on that broadsword, the more strength and confidence you feel, right? Every moment that you're doing your will strengthens your will, right? So the more we work at it, the stronger we get, the more we come into this Emperor energy, which is the discipline that you need to stick to it, to, use these bolts of lightning when you need them, if other situations arise. And the discipline, the focus, the authority, the self-possessed self-direction that you need to resist all of these court cards. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 of these court cards. And, you've got to be in charge and make the decisions of how you're going to handle this, maybe the balance, because we do have this justice or adjustment card here talking about balance. Is there a need for you to balance your hyper focus on this work and your social life and, the needs of your friends or family or coworkers? Do you need to establish some kind of a balance? I think the first thing that we do is invoke this Emperor energy, right? We have to get a good handle on this authority, this assertiveness, this really unstoppable energy to focus on your work and to resist any opposition, any distractions from this, which is right now, this is your most holy task, right? Whatever this is, could be a work thing. It could be your own business. It could be your relationship. It could be your family. You could be building something. You could be creating something. It could be your self-work, self-care, self-development, and growth, anything. Whatever your work is, okay? If you feel like leaving some comments and letting the rest of us know a little bit about what your work is, well, we would love to hear from you. We have we're really building a great community here, and I'm very thankful for that. So the last thing to do is talk about the 3 of discs. This is kind of representing the work that you're doing, okay? And I don't know what it is exactly. It could be talking about a business thing, a work thing. It could be that you are creating something that you're going to be selling or offering other people. There's kind of this idea of an exchange, right? Transactions. This could be literally just the work that you're doing, at work. Maybe you work at a desk, or you work on the computer, or maybe you work on the phone. Maybe there's exchanges of information, exchanges of currency, perhaps exchanges and transactions of goods and services, or whatever it might be. Okay. If this is talking about your work on your relationships, well, this is also, the exchange of information, the exchange of feelings, communicating with your partner or with your friends or with your family. The 3 of discs here is the understanding of what is required to make this work, right? So you have to have the physical commitment and ability, the emotional and the mental. And I think you have all of that. I think there's a mental distraction, right? If we have full commitment physically, you're here, you're doing the work, you're in the right room to do it, you have the right tools and the right things that you need. Your heart is in it. I think that you enjoy this work. It's meaningful to you. It has purpose. You have a connection with it, But I think that the mental focus and commitment, that's where the challenge is right now, because I feel like there's all these distractions, other people pulling you in different directions. So that's kind of where this Emperor energy comes into it, to discipline that the mental energy. Okay. So the 3 of discs is really talking about the 3 components that you need in order to get this project off the ground, to really make this work, whatever it is you're doing. We have to give proper attention to all aspects of it, okay? Now this is kind of getting a little bit more into the details. I think there are different components of this work. Maybe there's a technical side, there's a public relations kind of thing, there's a marketing aspect to it, there's whatever quality control, there's whatever research, and they're all different kinds of requirements. Many different things go into producing this. Now, this still could be a family thing, could be talking about your relationships, could be talking about your own inner work, your own self-work, self-development, spiritual evolution. There are a lot of things to do, so you have to stay organized. You have to stay on track. You have to kind of make a list, or whatever it is to keep everything in order. And it's difficult to do when you've got all of these kind of people trying to pull your energy in different directions. So this is really about understanding the details, understanding the requirements to get this thing working, and giving each kind of component here the right amount of attention and energy so that this thing can really get off the ground properly. Okay? And to do that, we need that Emperor energy. That is the ability to prioritize, the ability to have discipline, the ability to, and the authority to resist distractions, right? To maybe delegate work where it needs to go, to kind of, to be the one who is overseeing everything. It's your responsibility to make sure this 3 of discs is activated, right? That everything gets its due energy, its due attention, And then now we're going to start on this real air energy. The first thing we see is this Prince of Swords. This is the air of the air. Double air here, okay? So this, I think, is perhaps your own internal confusion, parts of your own mind that are just sometimes things just seem chaotic and confusing, and there's just like this cloud. It's like things just, for whatever reason, aren't always crystal clear, okay? So this, it could be part of the weight from these other court cards. It could be just simple like mental fatigue, with such commitment to this, I feel like maybe you're getting a little bit stressed out over it. Maybe there's a little bit of, I think it's like a mental stress, a mental fatigue that says, hey, maybe we do need to invoke this justice or adjustment card to have a little bit of balance, right? Maybe we need to take a little bit of a break, a mental break, right? Just go watch some TV or do something else, or gossip with these people, or whatever it is. Too much of this air, I think, is going to lead to that cloud, that fog, that heaviness. I think it's a fatigue. I think it's a mental stress. And this is one component. This is one thing that is distracting you, honestly, right? So the Justice or Adjustment card, moving over to the Path of the Serpent now. This card is all about balance and equilibrium and giving things their proper measure and kind of finding the middle road with things, okay? This is understanding the consequences of your actions, though, as well. So if your actions are staying with this focus, not relenting, not giving in, not taking a break, right? The strong grip on that central sword, never deviating. The consequence of that, I think, is going to be this Prince of Swords, the mental fatigue. So I think this is the knowledge, the acceptance of the idea that we do need a little bit of a break now and then. We do need to kind of rest our brains, right? Rest our minds. Think about something else for a few minutes. Do something else for a few minutes. In order to get rid of a little bit of that air so that you can go back to this work, maybe with a fresh bolt of lightning and resisting some of these distractions. And I think the more you, at least occasionally, I think, the more you try to focus, the harder you try, the more difficult it becomes, right? So the Justice or Adjustment card could be advising you to stop trying to resist so much and just whatever's happening, just let it happen. so that you can avoid the stress. It's almost more stressful to try to resist than it is to just give in and allow yourself to be distracted for a minute or two, right? And that doesn't contradict the Emperor at all, because I think a good Emperor is going to know when to use force and fire and just push straight through, and when to kind of pull back a little bit. Use a different strategy, be a little bit more strategic and, rather than tactical. Like, let's be a little more subtle. We can ease back. It doesn't show weakness. It doesn't show passivity. It shows intelligence, And I think that's what the Justice card is trying to say. That in order to have this balance, to have this equilibrium, and to have everything kind of functioning properly, we need to learn when to pull our force and fire back. We need to really, like I said, this fire energy is going to be the key and the central focus of this reading today. And I think that Emperor energy is the central focus. It's not just all force and fire. There's a lot of subtlety, a lot of strategy with the Emperor energy. Okay. Now we're going to these court cards here, and this should be pretty straightforward. I don't know what we could really say about this other than they are symbols of these other people, other forces that are trying to pull your energy in many different directions, right? It could be you're at work, you're getting a lot of personal stuff that you have to deal with, or you're at home with your family and work keeps calling you. All of these things, right? Any number of possibilities, and they could all be happening at once, or one right after the other, right? But on another level, we have the Princess of Swords, and this, I think, is you trying to resist the distractions. This is in the position of your relationships, or the dynamic between you and these other people, or these distracting forces. And I think you're putting in the same amount of effort to resist, or to refuse, or to tell them no, or to kind of to get them to go away. You're maybe putting in more effort doing that than you would expend just hearing what they have to say, dealing with it, and moving on, right? This is the Princess of Swords. Still kind of a little bit naive, a little bit young, a little bit wet behind the ears, as they say. And, you have this impulse to resist, to get rid of distractions, to focus on your work. But maybe it would be easier, like we were talking about with the Emperor and with the Justice card, to just say, okay, as part of my strategy, I'm going to listen to what you have to say, and then I'm going to move on, right? I'll give you 5 minutes. And then the energy is a little bit more calm. We don't have to just use these lightning bolts to get people away, or to get these distractions out of the way. They may not be people. They could be distracting anything, any kind of energy. Distractions from yourself. It could be your phone that's distracting, whatever it is. I don't know. There's all sorts of things. But the effort required to fight them off constantly might be greater than the energy you would expend just kind of dealing with them as they come, giving them, 5 minutes, you got 2 minutes or whatever, Now the next card is the Queen of Swords. This is kind of a good thing. This is sort of what we want. We want this kind of clarity about things. We want to be able to see things crystal clear, kind of from a higher vantage point, more objectively, right? And I think that this will give you, because this is the water of air, okay? So we're still talking about the same kind of mental energy in the air, and the distractions and the communication. But now we're remembering the kind of the water aspect of it. And that gives us a little bit of a higher understanding, a little bit of more compassion, a little bit more peace and calm, right? If we were to just say, instead of trying to fight everything off and just really resist everything, if we use a little bit of strategy from this Emperor and we say, okay, you've got 2 minutes. I'll do what I can to deal with this particular issue, whatever it is. There's a much more calm energy involved there than there is just kind of getting frazzled, getting frustrated, getting annoyed and angry. That really is takes a lot more energy to do that, right, than to just calmly listen and say, okay, I'll deal with that later. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Something like that. So the Queen of Swords is a little bit more evolved, right? A little bit more understanding, a little bit more mature in their response, because they know that just getting mad and frustrated and frazzled and all of this, annoyed kind of energy, that's exhausting too. So you're kind of picking the lesser of two evils here, right? In terms of all of these things that want your attention, that need something from you while you're trying to work, basically, right? Pretty simple message. The next thing we see is this Knight of Cups. This is fire and water. Fire and water. I wonder if this is talking about, rather than maybe a distraction still, but I wonder if this is about you finding a connection with somebody that's going to kind of remedy this Four of Cups that we got away from, right? You got away from this situation, but maybe now that we have kind of mastered this fire energy a little bit, gotten closer to mastering it, maybe now some of that fiery energy is going to allow you to make these kinds of connections. If this was like a romantic thing, maybe to make these kinds of romantic connections, with someone that is now, it's based on your own confidence, your own assertiveness, right? You're in a different place now where you might be ready to forge the kind of relationship that you want. And yes, forge like a sword, like fire and the swords, right? Forging the kind of relationship that you want, rather than this kind of restrictive one that we had in the past, maybe through this experience, through this work that you're doing, through the activation of this fire, because this is fire and water. This is the water now, your need for emotional connection expressed through that fire. So this is no longer tolerating anything less than what is best for you, right? So I think this is a pretty good way to end, because this seems like you're stepping into your new power, and you're taking that power beyond just this work that you're doing. And now I think you're working to, in the future, I think, forge those relationships that are truly meaningful to you, that truly work for you and benefit you and have that kind of mutual respect, mutual affection, that love and care, the type of emotional bond that you're looking for, right? That we didn't have with the Four of Cups. This is what we got away from. Now we're going to something new and better and greater, right? So there's a little bit of romance here. I think there's room for that going into the future. I think right now you're doing this work, focused here. But in the future, I think you're going to be that Knight of Cups. I think you're going to be able to seek and find and forge the kind of relationship, the kind of emotional bond that works for you, that you want, that motivates you, that inspires you, that uplifts you, rather than keeps you kind of anchored, right? Let's look at the mystery card. I promise you the frog did not tell me what that card was. But I'm getting a strong feeling like we've got all this air energy here. So, of course, it's going to be more air energy, right? But what if it was the star? What if it was the star? Showing that all of this air energy now, it kind of, it's like the heavens open up and it's revealed that all of this air energy was for a greater purpose, was really a magical, divine energy in your life that was there for a reason to put you in this emperor energy, right? All these little distractions and all these other draws on your energy, all for a very special purpose, I really feel this is going to be the star card. Because the star is an air energy. The star rules the sign of Aquarius. That's an air sign. So there's a lot of air with the star, even though it's kind of fire, it's kind of spiritual, right? But it comes through the air, that divine blessing, that inspiration, that spiritual love comes through the air, in this case, directly into us. Well, let's see if I'm right. It is the star. It is the star. So this is really a wonderful confirmation for me. And not only with the air, but we also have the connection with the fire and the water, right? Because the star is a ball of fire. And the figure here is it's the water bearer. It's receiving the blessings from heaven, and it's sharing them out with the world. And that's kind of like this Knight of Cups. Okay. But it's not just a romantic thing. I think the Knight of Cups may mean a new kind of romance for you. But I think the star really is your ability to see things from a more cosmic perspective, to realize the spiritual import of what you're doing and how you're doing it and the experiences that you're going through as you do it. It's like a spiritual lesson. It's a spiritual blessing. It's a grace that you are receiving. It's this, all of these challenges that we're talking about are there to strengthen you and to bring you closer to the divine, closer to spirit, right? So I think this is really a wonderful, wonderful confirmation. And everything that you are learning, everything that you are receiving from spirit, I think you are learning how to translate that into real world, practical kind of things, behaviors, a new attitude, right? New ways of doing things, a new way of experiencing the work that you do, the life that you lead. There's really an influx of spiritual energy and information and blessing and grace, and this is a wonderful confirmation. We're going to do an extended. If you want to stick around, please click on the link that's right there. And you can have access to all of the extended readings, okay, for every zodiac sign. This was your timeless tarot reading, which means whenever you happen to be watching this reading was meant to find you. I hope you'll leave a comment. I hope you will subscribe to the channel. I think we're really creating a very nice community here. I really do love it, and I'm very thankful for it. I want to thank you for being here and for letting me read for you on Dove and Serpent Tarot.